There we go.
Hi, guys. It's Michael and Pam, and we're so excited about this week's conversation. Welcome to all our cat lovers out there. Once again, I'm Pam. I'm Pam today, right? I'm Michael from the Pets Journey with Healthy Paws Herbal Labs, and I'm joined by the amazing Pam from Purrrfectly Holistic. Tonight, we're diving into the top 10 issues cats face in their lifetime.
Hmm.
And how can you prevent or manage them naturally? And did you know that most common cat health problems are unnoticed until it's too late? From vomiting to skin infections to kidney disease to stress related illnesses. We'll break it down tonight to what to watch out for, why these issues happen, what you can do to keep your cat healthy and happy for years to come. Tonight, what we're going to learn is early warning signs, symptoms your cat may be having, how diet, hydration, and gut health is a real big key to their success in their life. The best remedies that we know of, that holistic approaches for your cat, and how to improve your cat's overall health and
Mhm.
wellness. And with that, I always love for Miss Pam to say hello and introduce herself. Hi, Pam. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. It's fun to be back with everyone. Um, I am the founder and CEO of Perfectly Holistic, and I am a board certified holistic health practitioner in mind, body, spirit release. And I do a lot of energy healing work and those kinds of sessions. I read frequencies and energy. I don't diagnose, treat, or cure anything, but I just work through energy and frequency. It's fascinating. Um, it's so powerful for pets, and they take so well to energetic modalities, which is really fascinating. But um yeah, so I love being a full-time cat mom and entrepreneur, and I love supporting cat parents, and that's why we are joining up doing these shows for you guys.
Yeah, and I just love, I say this every week, but I just love the fact that you're a cat mom and you're in that feline industry where you're there to take care of the kitties. And we
Yeah.
need, and we talk about this all the time. We need different team members to our toolbox, and you're definitely one of those team members that we definitely want to have in our toolbox. So, I'm so excited we're here tonight. So what do you think about tonight's topic about the 10 top issues that a cat may have in their lifetime and what affects them? What's your thought on all that?
When I first saw the list, I'm like, oh
Oh,
wow, I don't know if we're gonna finish it tonight. We might need a part two.
exactly, right?
That's my first initial. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, because we I could talk for a very long time on a lot of these subjects. So you have to reel us in.
Well, that's why you're here, because I'm not the expert in cats. I'm not the expert in pets. I'd like to bring in pet experts from around the world, and discuss what their expertise is in. And I could talk about our formulas and what we do and our holistic approach to wellness for pets. So it's very important that we have people like yourself here on the channel so that we can share the knowledge with everybody and give everybody a second option to, other than just, Western medicine, what is
Mhm.
holistic medicine for pets and holistic healing and wellness, because it's not even medicine in your case, it's energy with you. A lot of the time is you're working with energy and how the energy is being flown, going through the cat's system and what you're
Mhm.
picking up on and all that and what they're picking up on as well. So, there's all these different modalities out there. And so we try to bring all this to our viewers. So yeah, it was a long list. When I saw it, I was like, whoa, I thought it was going to be like 10 top things. But then when I really started diving into it, I was going, wow, these are really important topics to talk about and to understand, and the
Yeah.
early signs of a lot of these. So with that, I will go ahead. Let me grab that big old list. I've got it in
Yeah.
front of me here. Um, and a couple of these we've already gone over. So you guys, if we said that we've gone over, you could go to my channel, the Pets Journey, and you can see our past interviews with Pam in
Mhm.
regards to some of these issues. Or you could go to Pam's as well. All her information is in the description down below. I try to make it as complete as possible. And if I'm missing something, Pam, you let me know so I can add it to it, so I can make sure that
Sure.
they know how to get a hold of you. one of the nice things that Pam does, like we do, she offers a consultation. Would you like to talk about that a little bit before we get going?
Sure, thank you. I do offer a free 20-minute consultation. Um, we can talk about whatever you're struggling with your cat, and I can share with you some ideas and maybe streamline some ways to try to, bring resolution to that, or give you maybe outside the box suggestions that you haven't tried or haven't thought of yet because it's just not, hasn't been in your circle. Um, so yeah, it's fun. And then if you decide that you want to work with me on on services and that kinds of thing, um, we just take it from there. But I'm really here for supporting the cats because, as you said earlier, the cats just don't get enough representation in the whole pet space. They really don't. Um, and there's not as many studies done on cats, and I think that's because they just flat out refuse to cooperate. Kind of hard to get cats to cooperate.
Yeah.
They're kind of independent thinkers. Dogs are pretty easy to get to cooperate, manipulate, stuff like that. Cats are like, nope. you know,
They're
so
like,
there's not as much done on them. So, and there's not as many foods produced for them, toys, supplement, whatever, what have you. It's just they don't get enough love. So, yes, I'm here happily representing them.
well, and I love that you said that too, because like you just said, like they don't, they don't have that, like food. You mentioned they don't have that many options with food. I didn't really understand that. I didn't know that, I didn't know they didn't have that as many as dogs. But now that you say that, in my mind, I look at a typical pet store. Yeah, the segment for dogs is so huge compared
Yes.
to the cat food. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, even at the industry trade show that I go to every year, the amount of real estate in these trade show floors for dogs would blow your mind. Blow your mind. I just end up walking past a lot of them and it's like, oh, it's dog, it's dog, it's dog. So, I mean, think about it. They make special, I mean, they have amazing toys for dogs, they have clothes for dogs.
Yeah, is there anyone
They have
doing
all
clothes for
these
cats?
fun things and carriers, and I mean, just oh my gosh. But in terms from the cat side, sometimes they cross over, but not always. And so, yeah, there's just a lot more money to be made in the dog side.
And
Just
that's what usually drives
sadly.
it. Yeah, and sadly, that's what drives it is the money, that you say
Yep,
that, and I'm thinking like Super Zoo. Have you been to Super Zoo?
that's what I was referring to. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, now
I've
that
been like 8 times. It's awesome. It's my highlight of the year.
yeah, I love it, but when I walk around, I'm like going, "Wow, they're really, it's really dog
So
driven."
centric.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know what? Thankfully, there's enough there's more and more demand for good cat products, good cat foods, especially in the gently cooked and the raw and freeze dried categories that are becoming more and more popular. So, a lot of dog people have cats. And so they're asking these brands, like, what about my cat? You know, what, don't you have any food for my cat? I feed my dog, your stuff. What about my cat? And so I have seen more and more. It's just not as fast. It doesn't come around as fast as the dog stuff does.
yeah, I find that interesting because a lot of times when people are calling us, I'll get calls all the time like, "What about cats? Do you guys have formulas for cats?" And we advertise dogs and cats.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have dogs and cats on our labels,
Yeah.
on our displays and all that. So I think even the mindset of people, they're like, they think of dogs first before they maybe even think of their own cat sometimes, because like, when they come to us, they're like, what can I do? I'm like, oh yeah, they're all for cats, and they're like, really? And they're like amazed that we're for cats too. And I'm like, well, yeah, I wouldn't
Right.
eat them. Yeah.
If I had $1 for every time someone said, um, or I learned about something like a pet parent who has a dog and feeds them the best high quality fresh diets and all of this, and then they put bowl of kibble down for their cats. It's like, oh my gosh, what happened? Is the cat like a second class citizen in your house and it's not worthy of fresh diets? You know what I mean? And it's like there's a disconnect there. It's like they just do so much for their dogs, but their cats are just kind of like, eh,
I'm like, wait a second. But, I mean, you say that, and we've talked about Ryan a lot, on the show about what he's written about the kibble. You just said kibble, what we're talking about, right?
Right.
And once again, going back to the topic of our shows, what are the 10 top issues that a cat will have during their lifetime? Well, some of these issues are driven by the kind of food that they eat early on in their life.
Oh, 100%.
So there's one of the
Yeah.
biggest ways you can actually avoid some of these issues and their health getting weakened in their old age is just by pivoting when they're young with their food. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
wonder, I was just thinking, like, is Just Food for Dogs doing Just Food for Cats yet?
Oh, no.
I don't know either. I'm going to have to look that up. That's interesting. Yeah. Because, like, is there a company out there that you know of that's doing anything like that?
Oh, like that does dog and cat food?
Well,
Oh, yeah.
just food for cats. Let's say, just food for cats. Forget about the dogs.
I'd have to think about it because honestly, I just pay so much attention to the who sells cat foods, whether it's fresh, freeze dried, gently cooked, or whatever. And chances are most of those have dog foods, dog lines, but unless it's something that I'm really familiar with, then I know that there's both sides. I don't really pay much attention.
That's okay. We forgive you.
Yeah.
What you said freeze dry, and we were talking earlier before the show. Everyone in the show, we talk about a lot of different products out there,
Hmm.
and because of legal reasons, we really can't say go do this, go do this or whatever, unless you're underneath our care. Then we can actually start to advise you of what to do. So when we mention products, we always like to talk about tons and tons of products here. So don't be afraid to go out there and take a look at the products. If you want more information, and it's something that Pam's been talking about, hit her up for that 20-minute consultation, and it's like discover what she has to offer and what her tools are in her toolbox that she treats all her pets, her cats, and clients with. So with that said, I'm going to ask you a question about a
Hmm.
product. When you're walking around the pet food store, whether it's an indie pet store or a big box store, is there any particular foods that stand out to you that you like?
You mean brands?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I do have favorites.
And
Um,
yeah, and what
yes.
would they be? Yeah, like,
So some of those would be okay in the raw category. Steve's Real Food, Green Juju, Small Batch, Darwin's, Viva Raw, Northwest Naturals.
wow, okay.
Um, let me think. Those are the ones that like stand out the most to me because I use them a lot in the fresh frozen raw category. There's others like I haven't used them all, but I do know that All Provide is really good. Goodness gracious. Um I have a list if you want me to go over it, but
Well, it's
yeah.
interesting because, like, when you're talking about this, it's like it sounds like there's more fresh food or frozen or freeze dry for cats than there is for dogs out there. Because I've looked at a lot. No, you don't think so?
Oh no. There's so much more for dogs than cats.
Yeah, but when I say that, I guess where I'm going with that is like when I think about it and I talk to the nutritionists that I've talked to on my channels, and
Mhm.
I talk about like what are their favorites, and they have a tendency to kind of like the moment that fresh food came out for dogs, and let's say freeze dried came out for dogs, there was just a few out there. And then all of
Mhm.
a sudden overnight you started seeing all these other companies jumping in and doing this, and a lot of those brands that were jumping in, they weren't as good as the original brands that were there in the forefront of the whole process of bringing that food to the market for pets. So there's a lot of foods that are out there that we could say that are listed for dogs, but when you really come down to that selected few, what are your selected few? Maybe that's my question for you.
Well, my selected few are the Steve's Real Food, Viva Raw, Small Batch, Darwin's, Green Juju. Those tend to be for fresh. Those would be my go-tos. And then some of the freeze-dried options. The Simple Food Project is one of my favorites. Um, Small Batch, Northwest Naturals, even Steve's Real Food makes freeze dried options. Um, so those are kind of my big go tos. Um, yeah, that's, and some obviously these are things that I either order directly online or I get it in an indie pet store. Um, so they're making it easier and easier for cat parents to get access and hands-on really good quality foods for their cats. It's becoming very, very competitive. You know what I mean? And so I think you just have to keep an open mind and you have to just keep trying different things until you figure out what your cat's like. And sometimes, like then the work that I do with all the energy work, I can clear blocks to things. So like if a cat is real resistant to trying raw food, they're not just not receptive to it, we can clear those blocks energetically that, it stops that block. It makes them more receptive and open to trying something different because cats are very routined. They like, I want the same, I like my routine, I like to eat this. And when we introduce something that they're not familiar with, I call it neophobic. They don't like, they're afraid of new things. And if you've ever tried that with a cat, put something new in their bowl, they kind of walk up to it and they're like, what is that? And they sniff it and they're like, and they'll back off. It's like, I don't know what that is, but that's not my food. You know what I mean? So it just, energy work helps like move past those roadblocks a lot faster.
Yeah, I always wonder about that because you do see that in cats a lot where they're so, they get that finicky name where they're like, oh, they're real finicky. But you do see that where they just like look at something. I mean, even before they even get close to the bowl, sometimes they can smell it from afar. They'll even look at it and go like, who the hell's in my kitchen? You know,
Right.
right?
Well, what people don't understand is cats are imprint eaters. So whatever they ate as a small kitten is what they imprinted on, and that was food to them. So if they were fed, once they were weaned, if they were introduced to dry food and that's all they ate, that is what they're imprinted on. And so you are overcoming programming, you know what I mean? And it could be very, very challenging for some cats. They're just really, really stubborn, but it also has to do sometimes with, like, especially with the dry food, they put the palatants, which are chemical additives to make it taste good, and they can get addicted to those things, and they can become addicted to sugars, which is the kibble. So there can be multiple factors at play when you're changing a cat, especially from like a dry food to other, better foods for them. um, but if a cat has only eaten wet food, for example, all their life, and we're trying to introduce a gently cooked or a raw, again, it's that, I don't know, I've never seen that before and I don't know what that is and that's not my food. Again, they were imprinted on something totally different. Some cats are more stubborn and, resistant to changing, but others are not. So it just really depends on the cat.
That's interesting. It's like us humans. It's like when we're little kids, we're imprinted with so many different foods. I remember, you know, I was imprinted with my mom always saying, eat broccoli. And we were like, the fact that she was forcing it on us, my sister and I are like, "Ooh,
We're
why is
like,
she
no.
forcing it? No, yeah, no, no, no." And today it's like one of my favorite foods, vegetables to eat for what's
Yeah.
inside of it. It's so good for you. Interesting. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, and it's that interpretation that we get as children growing up, same with our kittens and puppies. They have that same. That's interesting. I never even looked at it that way. See, that's why we
Hmm.
have you here, Pam. Is I learn all the time. You guys, I just want to say this. It's like when I have guests on the show, that's why I created the show, is the fact that I get to learn so much about pets, things that I don't even know. I mean,
Hmm.
if you would have asked me, 4 years ago, what I thought about different foods or different, or kibble or all these different things, I may not have had an answer for you that I do today. And it's just because I've had incredible people on like Pam that has passed on what they've learned in their life and their journey
Yeah.
in their field. And it's just so
Yeah.
beautiful to be here. So, once again, you guys, this is, if you have a question, be sure to pop it up. If you have any questions, we will be happy to include it into our show, and hopefully we can touch on it and we can talk about, what your issue is with your pet. But let's get to the issues real quick. Okay.
Yeah.
So the top 10 are Digestive Issues and Vomiting. And that's actually one of our first 2 shows that we did, right?
Mhm. Yes, go back and listen to those.
Yeah, so those are on our channel. And then the other one is Urinary Tract Kidney Disease. So that's UTIs in cats, and that's something that is very often a cat will get that throughout their life. Dental disease, that's one
Mhm.
we haven't touched on. Um, Diabetes. I didn't
Mhm.
even, wow, that's a big one, huh?
Big one.
Yeah, that's like number 4 on the list. Then we have yeast and skin. We talked about that. Arthritis. We haven't spoke about that. Parasites, immune system. We've kind of touched on that a little bit, right? And then respiratory, and then cancer and tumors. We know so well of that one that we don't like that one, but that is part of their journey sometimes. And then the biggest one at the very end, which I love that's on here, is emotional and stress related illnesses. And that's like one of your magical spaces that you probably work in, is that,
Mhm.
emotional area.
Yes.
So just moving through that, because we've talked about digestive, we talked UTIs. Let's talk about UTIs a little bit, because I get that question a lot, and I would love to hear what creates a UTI in a cat. How do they get a UTI? What are the, like? Is there anything that you could be looking out for so that you can maybe prevent that happening? What's your thoughts on that?
Yes, there's two main reasons why cats can develop bladder infections, UTIs, cystitis type things, and that is inappropriate diet, like dry food, because it raises the pH of the urine to like in most cases it becomes more alkaline, and then you can get, I think it's struvite crystals. And if depending on what they're eating, if their bladder becomes or their urine becomes too acidic, it can create oxalate stones. So we need to make sure that their urine pH is perfect. It's just the right acidity. So that is dry food contributes to the alkalinity, and that creates this it sets the stage for bacteria to start to grow in the bladder and the urethra, and then they start to have issues. The other reason is stress, like emotional stress. If a cat is stressed out all the time, or to a very you know, a huge degree, and they're constantly in sympathetic nervous system mode, they can develop bladder issues, and it can be like the cystitis, which is more inflammatory in the bladder. But then they can also develop these secondary infections, bacterial infections, as when they have those cystitis type conditions as well. So if we can keep them calm and address emotional blocks, emotional health with them, we can make them feel safe. That cuts way down on their stress and their potential to develop bladder issues if it's emotionally based.
So it's interesting you're going emotionally based and all that. It's like, that's one thing, because like people always, you know, have a tendency to think, oh, my cat's so independent, he's doing well or she's doing well, and she's just off in her own world and all that. But they do have emotional issues.
Well, and here's the one thing that people don't realize: a cat who sleeps all the time is a bored cat. They're bored, and they have emotional problems, probably anxious or something like that, but they're really bored. Cats, we domesticated cats, we brought them inside when naturally they'd be outside hunting and, stalking and playing in the grass and chasing bugs and varmints and all things like that. But we bring them indoors and we don't enrich their environment. We don't play with them. We don't give them climbing things. And if you have multiple cats in a household, there's always going to be a hierarchy, and there's always going to be a dominant and, a more passive one. And you're it's a constant, I don't want to say struggle, but it can be just a constant challenge to manage all these personalities. Okay. So we just need to think, how can we enhance and enrich their environment if they're indoor only, so that they can exercise and they can, exercise is great for stress, just like for people. It helps rid that pent up energy in them, And it helps, obviously helps detoxification. It helps mobility. I mean, just, we can't sit around and become couch potatoes. Just, they can't either. They
Right.
need to move. They're designed to move and to jump and climb and scratch and play and things like that. So we need to be encouraging them to do those natural behaviors that they are biologically wired to do. And so we've got to provide those resources. So if it's cat trees, if it's perches on the wall, if, they love being in high places. So we just have to think like cats, you know what I'm saying? And give them some stimulation.
I love those little houses that they build, especially like in Asia. You see these girls and boys, they just love their cats, and they play all these games, and they, the cellophane across the wall, and the cat runs into the cellophane, through the doorway. I mean, I just get a kick out of it. But I love those little, where they have like the little ramps all over their house with the little
Yeah.
houses all over, for the cats. That's, yeah. So I see that.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes. Yep.
You were talking about, let's go back to UTIs with the crystals and all that, and the buildup and all that. Is there anything that is like a precursor that you can see that your cat's leaning towards a UTI, or does it just happen overnight usually by the time you notice it?
Well, I'd say it's possible that both options are, a possibility. Some cats, well, cats in general, they're predator, but they're also prey. So they're very, very, very good at masking their symptoms and hiding their illnesses. So sometimes, depending on how they're feeling, some cats are more vocal than others, and others just kind of get withdrawn. If your cat is being very withdrawn and kind of hiding and keeping to himself, and they lose their interest in food, and you haven't seen them pee, or they're going in and out of the litter box a lot, but you don't see anything being left there, or they're crying, those are signs that something is off, and you probably need to go check with your vet, to make sure that there's not something, bladder related going on.
What do you think about this question?
Male neutered cats are more prone to UTI. Um, I don't live in a black and white. I live in gray. Okay, so I'm not going to agree that that is a true statement, because I think you have to look at the reasons behind it. Is that cat stressed more? Is he not, if he's a tomcat running around doing his thing, you know, I don't know. Is he eating a fresh diet? Is he eating dry food? Was he neutered at 8 weeks of age, like some shelters are doing, which is horrible? Um, if male cats are neutered at a very young age and you take away all their hormones, guess what happens? It stunts their growth, and the development of their urethra does not progress to the point where they can become more prone to crystals and bladder issues as an adult cat, because they weren't given the hormones that they needed to grow sufficient to fully grow. Okay, so that is a huge problem, is desexing them way too young. um, and so I think you have to look at all the potential triggers and possibilities and not generalize things. That's my opinion.
Well, I've heard that too. I think what you were talking about, would you say sexualize them? Is that?
Desexing or neutering too young.
Yeah, I hear, probably what, 10 years ago, you didn't hear this, and all this, at least I didn't hear this or until I got on the shows and all that. But I hear that all the time now from the experts that, that their pets are going in too early to get
Yeah.
neutered or
Yeah.
spayed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it,
So,
it does have long-term effects, and you can't you can't redo that. You know what I mean?
and so what's your time frame on a cat that should be today's thought on that? Like what
you know, okay, I'll tell you what I did with mine. I waited until she was 9 months old. And it's so interesting because she never went into a heat cycle. Um, but 9 months is pretty good. I mean, she was pretty much full grown by 9 months, and she's probably about the same size because she's just a small cat. I waited until 8 months when my two little girls were spayed, and they both had a heat cycle before I got them spayed. Um, with my males, it's been so long ago. It's been like 16 years ago, so I don't remember. But if they were probably around 6 or 7 months old. But if I had to do it again today, I would wait until they were closer to probably 10 months to a year, just because of what I've learned. So the longer you can wait, the better.
Yeah, I hear that in dogs as well, is the
Mm.
fact that, their hormones completely change, and sometimes they change
Yeah,
too early on and they don't get to develop so many other things. And once again, that's one of the things that can affect them later on in life, is that you start to see all these different issues popping up. And sometimes that's because they got spayed or neutered way too early.
way too early.
Way
Yeah.
too early. Yeah. And one of the other things I've heard too is like, that heat cycle, like you're talking about, even for dogs, they usually like to wait for at least one heat before they even
Mhm.
start to think about it.
Yeah. Well, but think of it, it makes sense because then if they go into heat, you know that they're fully mature.
Right. Right.
There's no doubt.
They're
Okay,
like, bring it on. No.
it's safe
Right.
for you to go get that fixed. So, yeah, that's just an easy way to think about it.
One of the things that I've seen too is like we're talking about UTIs again, you guys, and where they say that there's like a smell to their urine. Their urine has a tendency to change. Do you notice that with your cats at all? Or does your cats, how's their health? Let's talk about your cat's health for a second. How's your cat's health?
My cats are the healthiest cats I've ever had
I bet, right?
because I'm doing things differently with them than I've done in the past. Um, Yeah, I don't. I mean, from time to time, Gunner will get like some kind of a cystitis kind of issue, but that's because he's very sensitive and he can get he's 16. So when he is around these rambunctious 2 year olds that are bouncing off the walls, he gets very afraid. And then he goes outside and the dogs all around us bark and can see him through the fence and he gets very afraid. So for him, it's fear based. Does that make sense? And he'll get those kinds of
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah.
But my girls, I haven't really had much bladder issue. I mean, sometimes for Aylin, it does, but again, it's the fear thing. It's the dogs growling through the fence, barking at them. It's just that instinctual survival mode that puts them into that sympathetic nervous system situations, and that's when I have bladder issues.
Well, in stress, like we were talking about,
Stress.
stress brings on so much,
Mhm.
so many different conditions. Did I send you a no more drama for him? Do we need to get you a no more drama?
I think you did send me one, but right now, I mean, it's been so cold, no one's going outside, so
Okay.
we're
Okay.
we're good. We're good.
Okay.
So
Yeah, because
yeah,
we don't want him to be stressed out. We don't need a
yeah.
stressed out kitty, right? So here's a question. Any suggestions? I have a 1 year, one over.
Overweight cat and one
Okay.
normal weight.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
eat the same food. Vet says the one is just fat. They are indoor cats. We play, not sure what to do. Okay, so my question is, what are you feeding them? Is it dry food? Is it wet food?
Yeah.
That's
That's a
that's
big.
a big deal. And if it's dry food, stop the dry food. There's no biological need for dry food. Um, Wet food diets. It's Jay Kennedy. Hi, Jay. So nice to see you. If you
Hey.
haven't met Jay, you got to meet my friend Jay. Um, she's one of the two crazy cat ladies. Okay, so Renee says we feed both. Okay, so in my professional opinion, and from everything that I have learned, and I did it all wrong before, so learn from my mistakes. Take away the dry food, feed them wet, at the minimum canned, better gently cooked, best fresh, frozen raw. That's what I suggest because the dry food contributes to the overweight. They get fat because they're storing carbohydrates that they can't digest them. They have no biological need for carbs. And so what happens is you get some cats super addicted to the sugar and they overeat all the time. And they act hungry because they're not getting their
Right.
nutritional needs met, because it's mostly plant-based material which they can't process. So the wet food is always going to be much better than dry food, and it keeps them hydrated and they don't wear out their kidneys, because that's what dry food does. It just puts cats in a constant state of dehydration.
Yeah, it
So,
stresses.
and that will shorten their lifespan. I have done it 3 times. So I know it's not healthy for them. So that is my advice.
Well, and what you're talking about is what we talk about all the time is diet, diet, diet plays. And when I talk about diet, I'm not talking about put them on a diet. I'm talking about just what they eat every single day. It's like, it's crazy because it just always goes back to diet and
Mhm.
hydration. And, one of the big things that we see in all these different, diseases or issues that pets get, a lot of it can be avoided just by changing their diet early on in life.
Yes.
If you can grasp, and I say this to everybody in the room and anybody that's going to be watching the room afterwards, if you guys can grasp the concept of feeding your pet healthy, nutritional food outside of using kibble, because we know that, my feeling about kibble, what I've learned about kibble is just, it's like an air pocket, really. Like you said, it's full of sugar. They eat it, they get it, they want more, we want more. And next thing you know, you got this cat. And, if you look at it, this is, I always talk about like kibble and McDonald's. If you
Mhm.
feed your kid McDonald's every single day. I saw this on, what is it, Oversize Me or Oversize or something like that. Did you see that?
Super Size Me, right?
Supersize
Super
You, right?
Size Me. The
And one of the,
documentary. Yeah.
yeah, the documentary. And when I watched that, I was just like so floored, because you see these kids in school these days, and they're they're just so heavy. And we a lot of people sit there and they look at them and they judge them, like, why don't they, what are they doing? Why don't they exercise? It's not about that. It's about what they're
Mhm.
eating. Let's go
They're
back to the
eating.
food. And it's like a lot of these parents, unfortunately, they don't have time, or they don't cook, or whatever the case may be, is what they end up like driving through in the morning to McDonald's, and they feed McDonald's. They drive through in the afternoon, they feed McDonald's in the evening. And all of a sudden, the thing in Supersize Me, what they said about these kids is they don't have enough time to digest the food, number one, because there's so many unnecessary calories in that food that are not healthy calories, that are just so
Mhm.
thrown out. By the time their body can actually start to digest, they're already eating it again. And we talk about this. And that's one thing I've been sharing since our last conversation, is about let your pet rest in between meals.
Mhm.
I can't thank you enough for sharing that, because I've been even saying that to a lot of my pet parents. Hey, do you leave a bowl down all day? And I'm
Yeah.
shocked. I'm shocked to hear how many people leave that bowl down
Yeah.
all the time.
Here's a little tip for everyone. Your pet's not going to starve. It's
Yeah.
just not. It's not going to starve to death.
It'll
It's
definitely,
really good for them to go 6 to 12 hours between meals. It really, really is.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jay has a question here about
The
big
bird
bird
flu.
flu fiasco. What do you think about that?
Okay. Can I be really honest?
Be honest. That's why we're here.
I think it's a bunch of BS. To most of it is a bunch of BS. Um, there is a great article written by Conrad Brady, who is a research scientist out of Ireland. Everybody should go to his, oh gosh, now I'm going to have to go find his website. Um, something dog. Hang on, I'll find it. If you look up Connor Brady, Connor Brady, scientist, Ireland, you can probably find his website. I shared his article on my personal Facebook page because I thought it was awesome. It's a very long read, but it is very, very worth it. He just breaks down the whole science and how you have to look at what we went through during COVID and follow the science to now they're throwing out a whole nother virus and epidemic and whatever again, it's like, how many times do we have to go relearn a lesson? So if you have a cat with a compromised immune system, chances are they're probably not going to be eating, you know, necessarily fresh food. They might be more susceptible to pathogens and things like that. So maybe the cooked food, cook it really well. Um, if you have a really healthy, vibrant cat and they're indoors, I don't think they're going to be out, they're not going to be out hunting birds in the yard or whatever and contracting viruses and diseases. Cats' digestive tracts are very short and they're highly acidic. So they can deal with a lot of pathogenic material in their prey that they eat. So I just and some of the recalls, like with the Northwest Naturals turkey, raw turkey recipe, they have debunked that whole thing because the FDA did not do the testing properly and they corrupted the samples. So that has been retracted. So, they put out a lot of fear porn, and I'm just going to call it what it is. I feel like it's fear
Yeah.
porn.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when they do this in the pet industry side, I'm just going to be frank, they do it to the raw food companies because big pet food, who makes billions of dollars on processed pet foods, does not like competing with raw, fresh food companies. They don't like competing with gently cooked companies. They don't want to compete with anybody trying to make a better product than them. And so even the FDA turns a blind eye to a lot of mistakes, and I'll say that in quotes, mistakes, problems, roach infestations, pets dying and reported, from sickness after eating their food, Purina. They turn a blind eye to these big pet food manufacturers and give them a break, and they don't enforce law. Um, and then when they do have a recall on a raw food brand, it they try to pin things to make the raw food industry look bad, when the facts of the matter are there are more recalls on ultra processed, that's dry food, than any other category. So you have to look at the history, you have to look at motives, who benefits. Just remember that key bono, who benefits if you are convinced that there is a bird flu pandemic, haunting in your backyard, and your cat is going to get horribly sick if they eat a bird or whatever, and they're killing all of these chickens, really? Why? Who benefits from that? Is it a control mechanism? Is it to put fear porn out there for people? Is it to convince people that they need to go take another damn vaccine? I mean, you have to follow the money in these kinds of situations. And so I just tell people, just sit back and chill, don't get all worried about things that may not even come to fruition in your area. And if your cat is outside and they're hunting birds, chances are, what are the chances that they're going to actually get sick from eating a bird? That's part of their natural diet if they were in the wild. So, when you look at the types of the chickens that they kill, and all these flocks that they're culling and everything, how are those birds raised? Are they in confined animal feeding operations? Are they cage free birds? Do they have access to pasture and grass? How are they being raised? I mean, we have to look at how our food supply is being raised, because when you start to peel back the ugly layers, it is not pretty. You know what I mean?
Well,
Um,
before you go, because I see we have a lot of questions here, a lot of statements that I want to pull up right here, but I've been kind of holding back just to let you finish because
yeah,
I love where you're going, the food porn thing. Ryan talked about this all the time. Ryan would
yeah.
always talk about who's doing this, who's pulling the punches here, what's really
Mhm.
going on behind the scenes, and once again, I see someone saying here, um, planet population control. Lori says this, and it's
Yeah.
like, it's weird. They put this fear in us that we're like, oh my God, now we got to worry about this. Now we got to look out like this. I mean, I can't tell you, here in LA, I mean, the whole issue with the eggs, right? I don't know if
Yes.
right? People are lining up in the morning at Trader Joe's to go buy their eggs, and Trader Joe's is like 1 carton per person now, and people are like going back in and out, just get an extra carton of eggs. Like they even eat that many eggs, but they've got that mentality like panic, panic, panic. I got to do something. I've got to grab what I can grab. And I agree with you. I just think there's so much. I have an art piece, and it's got all these news stations around it, and it's like lollipops, and I call it propaganda. And that's what it is.
Yeah.
The news stations are out there, and they love to spread I call it propaganda.
Right.
Uh, you know,
Okay. Well, eggs have become the new toilet paper.
yep, exactly. Go
You
stock
know what
up.
I'm saying? I buy my eggs at a farmer's market from a local farm. I don't have a problem. I mean, I can get eggs every week, and I do. So people look outside for other options. Go explore
Go to
your
your
local
farmer's
farmers
market.
markets.
Yep,
Support your local farmers. You know,
exactly.
don't rely on Trader Joe's to get your groceries, your eggs all the time. So it's time for us to start looking at growing our own food. You know what I'm saying? It's just be more independent. Support your local farms and farmers. That's what I love.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% in your description and what you think is going on, because I feel the exact same way, and it just frustrates the hell out of me when I see these shenanigans
Yeah.
going on by the government, and
Mhm.
who's making the money behind the scenes, and like what you're talking about, like the big food companies, they want to put out the little guys that are coming along, that are
Yeah.
offering healthier foods, that are beating them out at the stores because they are giving value to their food.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Jay also said, just to kind of close the loop on that whole comment, if you can put her new comment up. Yeah, the FDA did close the case for the one cat in Oregon that started the whole chaos. They found no avian flu virus in their food because but the media doesn't want to tell you that, even though that cat died, but it wasn't from bird flu. So again, there can be other reasons that cats pass away, and it's not always the food. But again, I think you just have to be careful, step back, and just look at the big picture and go, why is it happening? What's the message? Who benefits?
And
So
who's controlling the message? Really,
who's
who's
controlling the
controlling?
message, right? And
Yeah.
who's saying the message? Who's the message coming from? So that can also tell you a lot.
Yeah. I can't agree more. Okay, so
Okay.
I'm going to back up. So my cat's a little chubby. Some might say fat. We will make feed. We make we will make. We feed her both dry and wet. We will make
Make the
the
switch.
switch to just wet. And I don't have my glasses on. Sorry. I'll let you read. Go ahead, read it.
To try and feed her every 6 hours when she comes begging. Here's the thing. They will wear you out before you wear them out. So pack your patience when you're putting cats on a feeding schedule. If they're used to the all-day buffet, maybe scale it back to 3 small meals a day, and like breakfast, maybe early afternoon, and then dinner or before bed. And yes, you can you can increase that gap if you want to eventually get it to 2 meals a day and just make them two slightly larger meals, but the same amount of calories that they would eat throughout the whole day, just divide it up into 2 or 3 meals. Um, and yeah, it just makes such a world of difference in their health.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Good job, Lisa.
Yeah, nice job, Lisa. Um, is it okay that my cats don't drink water?
Yes. Because if they're getting their moisture from their food, then they don't have a large thirst drive. They don't have a large thirst drive anyway because
Period.
they're desert creatures biologically. They evolved from living in the desert. So they adapted biologically to get their moisture from the food that they ate, and that would be their prey, because it's not like there were pools of water sitting out in the desert everywhere for them to go drink. And so the prey is how they got their water, their moisture. And so there's a concept, I guess it's a concept, it's called intracellular moisture. And that is the moisture in the food itself, like fresh food. It contains, if you think about it, our bodies are 70% water, prey animals are probably 70, probably around the same 70-80% water. So if the cat is eating a fresh diet, then they're getting that intracellular moisture, and that's enough for a lot of them. Like, my cats don't drink a lot of water. If they do drink a lot of, if they even go over to the water bowl and take a sip or two, I know that it's more of a water element imbalance, and it's usually because of a fear issue. It's not because they're dehydrated or thirsty. It's they're trying to balance their water element. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, I love that you said that, the fear issue, because I was going to ask you, what's the emotional thing attached to it when you see that?
It's the fear. It's the dogs barking through the fence, or it's, the kittens bouncing off the walls and scaring the other two because they're getting jumped on, or, they're collateral damage when they're playing, and they just get jumped on and pounced on and scared, not
It's
on purpose, but it was just like,
it
oh,
freaks
you're in
them
the
out.
way.
Yeah.
It's like, get out of the way. I'm chasing something, So it's more of those kinds of responses. Or in some cases in my house, I have spirit cats that visit. And so they freak out my 2 older ones, and because they're former family members that come around, and they see their energy and it freaks them out. So those are the reasons.
Yeah, I love that. I
Mm-hmm.
just rescued a 14-week-old kitten. She's eating small batches of raw, only an indoor cat. But what are your thoughts about vaccines? She's had her first vet appointment Friday.
Oh, she has a vet appointment on Friday. Okay, she's 14 weeks old. She's indoors. Um, if she has never been vaccinated before, and this is what I learned, just passing on what I have learned from homeopathic vets and Dr. Judy Morgan, okay, who is a very, very well known integrative holistic vet. If your cat has never been vaccinated and she's already 14 weeks old, if you want to do one FVRCP vaccine, and then wait about 3 to 4 weeks, and then, or no, 2 weeks, and then do a titer test if you want to. But if she's indoors and she's not going to come in contact with other cats that may have, upper respiratory diseases and viruses and things like that, there's really no need to even vaccinate her or even do a titer, really, when you look at the grand scheme of things. Um, and if you can get out from doing the rabies vaccine, I would skip that too. There's absolutely no need.
Yeah, we talk about this a lot on the show, where, people have a tendency, not even that they realize they're doing it, but they over vaccinate their pets.
Oh, that's a whole nother topic for yes. And that's a big pet peeve of mine. Big. I deal with so many vaccine injured pets. It's not funny. And it breaks my heart.
Well, yeah, because it's just like that. Those chemicals just get so built up inside their system. And it's like, and especially if you go to rescue a pet and it's in its golden years or older, or, it's not a kitten where, it's going to be their first time getting the vaccine, when
Yeah.
they're, you don't know when the last time they got their vaccination. So if you're piling on another vaccination and your vet's one of those vets like, oh, every 6 months or every so many weeks or months or whatever, come back in and they give it again, that stuff builds up. It's all chemicals, and so
Yeah.
definitely.
There's heavy metals, there's formaldehyde, in some cases there's embryonic kidney cells, there's glyphosate in some of those vaccines. And just remember, they're toxic. They use sometimes live or dead viruses in these things, and it is a wrecking ball to the immune system. It really
Yeah,
is. So
it really is. And congratulations on rescuing the cat. I
yes, yes.
love that.
I love that you're feeding the small batch too. I think that is awesome. I mean, kittens are so easy to transition to raw. So bravo.
Yeah, they don't have that. What did you call it? Impression? Yeah.
They're imprint eaters. So yeah, don't start them eating. If transition them young, it makes life so much easier.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Mhm.
Let's see here. Okay, let's go down. Let's see what this one here. I want to thank you for last week. I went back to the old cat litter. She's pooping in the box again. I didn't understand she peed but not poop. But in the new litter, my cat is
Strange.
strange. Yeah, no,
No,
that's
no, you are. She's not strange. Some cats do not want to poop or they pee, so that's why we have to have options for them in more than one litter box. But I'm so glad that she likes the old litter. So there you go.
There you
Problem
go.
solved.
Problem solved. I love that.
Yes. Yay.
Hey, for your kitten or your kitty.
Yes.
Let's go here. Let's see.
Jay has a cool, okay, everybody look out for Jay's cat tip video on for Monday. Um, they're launching a new cat tip video on over vaccinating next Monday. So look out for that. That'd be
Oh,
awesome.
I love that. I love that.
Yes.
It's so important to really know where the vaccinations are in your pet and how often they're getting it, because those metals do build up, and
Oh my gosh.
it's just horrible, and people don't realize it. Once again, we're talking about, what can we do today for later on in life, and these are the issues that you can do. These are the things that you can be bringing into your pet's life early on, so that you can hopefully save them from having them go through all the stress of being
Yes.
ill later on, because that's another,
Yes.
you know another ailment that they have, that they're stressed, and they're just, they don't like being sick. They
No.
don't like, yeah, I believe me, I understand that one. So
Yes.
um
Pop the one
okay.
up from Krista. She says the only time my cats get shots is when they get fixed. Okay. And just going forward, for anybody who has a pet that they need to get spayed or neutered, my best advice is do not let them vaccinate your pet at the same time as they're having a surgery, because it is a lot of stress on the body to go under anesthesia and have surgery to begin with. So your immune system is already stressed. And the vets like to use it as an excuse, like, oh, well, we'll just do their vaccines at the same time. It's like, no, 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 no. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's too hard on the system. If people really realized and understood how toxic these vaccines are and how they are not safe, okay, things go wrong. Hi, Skylar. Um, they are a big stressor to the immune system, and it's a double whammy. So when you vaccinate and have surgery at the same time, it's not really, it's not in your pet's best interest to do it that way.
When it just kills me that you just brought that issue up, because I hear that so often, is like when they bring their pet into the vet,
Mm-hmm.
they want to pile on. Oh, why they're here, why not do this, and why not do this, and why not do this? Stop.
Yes.
Just stick to the plan. Get them.
Yes. Get
Yeah.
them either done beforehand or get them done separately, 3 to 4 weeks after your pet has recovered. That's really if you want to be very conservative with, you know, just making sure that you are supporting your cats the best way that you can. If you do have to give them a vaccine, just remember, don't pile them on top of other things.
Yeah. Well, and I do, that is a great little marker. Like, people ask, when should I do it? When should I do it? The vaccination and all that. When you're getting ready to vaccinate, or when you're getting ready to neuter or spade your animal, that could be a trigger point for your cat. It's like, okay, maybe like a month before, I'll take them in to get vaccinated. And then there you have them vaccinated by the time, they get older. And it's like, if you don't want to be vaccinated all the time, that could just be a marker in your head. Like, when's the first time I want to get them vaccinated? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, there is a positive to that, Krista. I think it's like that, you've got a schedule that you like to work off, maybe just adjust it a little bit so that it's not happening
Mm-hmm.
exactly on the same day, because that does, vets, they love to do that. They love to say, oh, why they're in here, let's do this. Oh, let's,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
no.
So here's something that you were talking about right here. My vet said that a cat will starve itself. I don't think they will.
No, they will. They will. They are martyrs.
You
They
really?
really will. Yes, it's
Will
a
they
real
just
thing.
protest their food to the point where they just like they won't eat at all?
They won't eat, and what happens is they will develop fatty liver disease as a result. So, cats are not like dogs. So, cats who, if they have not eaten within 24 to 48 hours, you need to, it is a very serious thing. So, you probably need to get to your vet, just figure out why your cat is not eating. There could be an underlying condition that's contributing, and they're sick. Um, So you really just have to be aware. Find something that they will eat. So if you are trying to change their diet, you may have to do it slower and give them the food that they want and that you know that they like, and add a little bit of the new into the old and slowly move them into the new, because we can't have them not eating. It's a very serious thing.
Yeah. And you see her follow up here is like, my cat was raised on kibble by a previous owner, and she rescued, adopt, and she refuses to eat anything else. What's your pointer there? What would be your, any tips on that?
Oh yeah, energy work. Let's clear that block. I'm telling you, it makes it go so much faster. It's an addiction to sugar, to the kibble, and it's a block to wet food. That's what that is. So that's how I address those, like nip it in the bud quickly. But if you want to, if you really want to do it the hard way, then add a little bit of water or bone broth underneath the dry food and start putting freeze dried recipes in with the dry. So you're at least giving them something that's healthier than carbohydrate loaded kibble.
Yeah.
Freeze dried foods are awesome. They are more expensive. I'll just warn you, they're probably the most expensive, fresh, better option out there because of the process. It's just costs more. But there are really good quality freeze dried recipes that you can mix into that and add a little water, moisture, bone broth, goat's milk, or something into the bottom so they get kind of used to that moisture. And you just have to go slow at their pace, and just find even like the toppers, the freeze dried toppers or the squeeze up purees, things like that some cats you can add to top on their new foods, or just to help introduce a different texture, the moisture, things like that, just to entice them to try something new and to eat something better.
Well, you keep saying this, and I like to point this out, is like sugar and kibble. That it's like, I've heard this for so long, and a lot of people don't even realize there's so much sugar in kibble. They
Oh
pile,
yeah. Oh
once again,
yeah.
it's like McDonald's almost. They just pile that sweetness and all that junk on there just to make it like, oh yeah, this has got to be good. It tastes good.
Yes. Yes. And I'll tell you, if you guys want to learn how to figure out how much carbohydrate is in your cat's food, take the number, go on to the guaranteed analysis on the label where it has the protein, the fats. It will have, look for ash. Okay. So we're going to go proteins, fats, and ash. And if it doesn't have ash, put 6. It's like 6% is an average. Okay. So add up the amount of protein, fats, and ash. You're going to get a number, and then you're going to take 100 because it's 100% minus whatever the protein, fat, and ash added up to. And that leftover number, whatever that comes down to, is the amount of carbohydrate in your food. And they're not required to put that on the labels yet. I think the FDA changed that law. I think it's 2026, maybe 2027, that they have to start showing that on the label, but it's not going to be there right now. So you just have to calculate it yourself. And it is shocking if you're feeding dry foods, how much carbohydrate is in the food. And here's something that's deceptive. And just so that you guys are aware, if your dry food has legumes in it, even potatoes, corn, sometimes they are adding or using a percentage of that for protein, and it is a plant protein, and it's just a way for them to hyperinflate the protein amounts in the food, but it's not animal protein, it's plant protein. So you just have to be careful. Even when you're calculating, just be aware of that. I actually called a company years ago because it was one of those really good popular brands that made a wet food, and they added legumes in there. Is like 3 or 4 ingredients down on the list, which is pretty significant. And I contact them to ask them what their percentage of plant protein versus animal protein was in their food, and they wouldn't tell me.
Yeah, no, they do that all the time.
And I stopped recommending their food when they wouldn't be transparent with me, because I want to know how much animal protein is in that protein amount that you're putting on the label. They couldn't tell me, or they wouldn't tell me.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was, yeah, this question right here for no one. Um, what, well, we're talking about, I want to jump in real quick. We're talking about right now, it's like, changing their diet is probably one of the first things you can do is, right? Is
Oh yeah, yeah. Diet is foundational. Like one of the best things you can do to prevent kidney disease is put them on a species appropriate wet diet. Number one. Um, can you tell us if your cat already has kidney disease, or were they diagnosed with like a stage of kidney disease? Or are you just trying to prevent kidney disease? Because
right.
that would be,
That's what I was wondering too. Is like,
yeah,
so yeah, no one, does your cat have it right now? Or has your vet told you that they are in the early
yeah.
stages of it?
That's what I would like to know.
What prompts this question? Yeah, I was asking
Mhm.
myself that same question as well.
Yeah,
Um,
and then I'll
yes.
give you an answer.
Yeah,
I
then
would like to know a little bit more information. Yeah,
we'll circle back to you guys. Okay.
yeah.
Um, so we talked about urinary tract infections and all that. Let's go to our next one. Number 3 is dental disease.
Mhm.
What
Take them off dry food. It comes down to gut and diet, pretty much
I'm telling you,
everything.
it's like we can
Um,
beat this over. It's
I
like
know.
it just
Yeah.
back to food. It goes back to food. Why do you
Yeah.
say that? Let's for the person who's on dry food. Why do you
Or
say that?
or the greenies treats or the temptations treats that are loaded with carbohydrates. Look at the labels, guys. Turn them around. Read the label. It's like corn, wheat, gluten, soy flour, pea protein, all that kind of stuff. Um, the carbohydrates again in the food start to break down in the mouth with the amylase, and so that creates this residue, this coating on their teeth. um, so that is what contributes. And vets have been telling people for years, oh, get your cat eating the dry food. It's good for cleaning their teeth. No, it's contributing to the tartar and the plaque on their teeth. So, one of the things that I know Jay and Adrian and I are super, super excited about is this brand called Teef, Teef. They have a product that uses their Protectin 30. I think that's what it's called. Protectin something, and it has a little chlorella. It's basically something that they can just lick or eat. You can put it on their food. You can sprinkle it on a mat for them to eat. And it basically helps balance the healthy microbes, oral microbiome in the mouth to help prevent tartar and plaque and dental disease and things like that. So that's like a no-brainer. Get yourself, order some teeth. They have toppers and they have just the supplement itself that you can add. It's so easy, and we're talking about a tiny amount if you're just using the supplement. But I ordered the toppers, and it's like freeze dried salmon. I think they have freeze dried beef liver or something like that, and they mix their protectin product that helps protect the oral microbiome into the treat, the topper. And so they're trying to make it easy for us. I
Well,
love it.
and we want that. That's what we're really
Yeah.
looking for is companies like that, because like one of the things you mentioned is like you threw up greenies, right? And it's like here you have a company that it's supposed to be helping with this, and it's actually doing just the opposite.
Just the opposite. Yeah, it is. Read the
You know,
labels. You got to
read
read the labels.
yeah, you
You
really have to
question the
read the
labels.
labels. It
If you
just
don't know what that label means, you're going to have to do a search word by word. Yeah, that's what you got to do.
yeah, that's one thing Ryan always said to me. He's like, Michael, he goes like the best thing you can do is like if you have a pet and you've been feeding them the same food for years and you want to know what's really going there, exactly what Pam just said. If you don't know the words, go word by word,
Yeah.
get the just learn what what's inside that food, because I guarantee you by the time you're done with that list, you're likely going to be looking for a healthier food for your pet.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's your fault that you've been feeding them this. It's just what's been out there in the world for us to
Mhm.
feed
And
our
promoted
pets
and advertised.
and promote it. Like the big guys, they have so much money. They don't care how much money they spend on advertisement as long as they get your dollar at the end.
Yep.
They'll overspend on advertising just to get your dollar, because they know once they get your dollar, they have it, and you're going to keep coming back, and they've sold you.
Yeah.
So so look at the long-term investment for your pet's health rather than saving the dollar in the long term, because that's going to change your pet's health. Speaking of kidney disease, what do you think about this right here about the vaccine
You
coming
know what,
out?
Jay? I haven't done any reading on that, so I can't really comment. Um, but one of the things that we know that contributes to kidney disease is vaccines, because they use embryonic kidney cells from kidney tissue in vaccines, which can make the body become resistant to its own kidneys over time. That's what I learned from Dr. Will Falconer, by the way. Um, so, you know, we feed the wrong food. We vaccinate them with embryonic kidney cell tissue to make their body resistant to kidney cells. And and we probably load them up with toxins. This is very interesting. Did you guys know that the left kidney and the right kidney detoxify different things?
No, I didn't know that. That's
I
interesting.
didn't either. Okay, so the left kidney detoxes more like pathogenic material, and the right kidney detoxes the heavy metals, the environmental toxins, and things like that. So, isn't that interesting? So, if you have a cat that has, a right kidney that's starting to look a little
Oh,
funny on the
okay.
ultrasound, little, more Swiss cheesy, it can be indicative that it's trying to process more heavy metals and environmental toxins like pesticides and glyphosate and things like environmental chemicals, maybe even in your home, things like that. So it's just very interesting. Um, just something to keep in mind. Yeah. So the kidneys can wear out because they're overworked from all these things they're trying to do.
Well, we talked about chemicals inside the house last week about, just like
Yeah.
church and all that. And look at what Krista was the one with the kitty litter, right?
Yeah.
She changed it. She saw a big, I don't know if it was a big box or whatever. And she's like, oh, let's do this. It looks more affordable or whatever. And the cat's like, what the hell is this? I'm not pooping in there.
I
You
love
know,
that.
Yeah, and it's because of the chemicals and the smell and all that. So it's like to think about that and the right versus the left. It's like that's interesting. So
Mhm.
we're always learning here, you guys. I
I
love it.
know.
I love it. I love it. And before we jump off of Jade's here, it's like one of the things I want to say is like here they're talking about the new vaccine coming out to help, promote, stopping kidney disease. Well, that new vaccine, like you were saying, what they're using it is actually going to be causing it, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know what's in it. So, I don't know. I don't know about you. I am needle phobic, literally. I don't put any needles in me whatsoever, ever, ever, unless they have to literally hold me down in the hospital to do knee surgery, which was this whole story. They really did have to hold me down because I was like freaking out. Um, so I'm not doing any vaccines for me, and I'm not doing any vaccines for my pets. I mean, I just live outside of big pharma. That's me, though.
Well, and that's what we all have an option to do, and that's what we're talking about here. Do you want to do Western medicine or do you want to do Eastern medicine? And how do you want to live your life, and what do you want to bring into your body? Do you want to bring in chemicals? Do you want to bring in metals? Do you what
Yeah,
do it's your choice. So you get to choose what you want to do. Just like we're talking about pets right here, we get to choose what food we want to feed our cats and dogs. We get to decide on what kind of wellness we want to give them and how we want to treat their issues that they have. So this is all a choice, and we get to make that choice. And even if, like, as an adult in my years, um I think like right now I'm on this big food kick.
yep.
I'm like, the other day, I don't know what happened, but I was making dinner and my husband fell asleep early. And so I made 2 dishes and I went and he was sleeping and I'm like, what are you doing? And so he's like snoring away and I'm like, do you want your food? And he's like, no. So I left him alone, but then I brought his food back and I made like this really cool, fajita strips and all that and spinach salad. Well, I started eating the spinach salad and I'm like going, oh my God, I like this better than I like the meat. You know what? I'm not going to even eat the meat. And I ate my spinach salad and his spinach salad. And I was so satisfied at the end of it. And I felt even better about it because I'm like going, oh my God, I ate so much. I ate healthier
Out
tonight
there.
without even like, it was just kind of like, so that's where I am right now in my life. It's like, I'm pivoting to just really trying to eat really, really clean foods because like when you pick up that package, like we're talking about, on and you start to understand like what we were talking about, the what's the protein, like that you said, protein, fats, ash, and all that, and what are you really eating at the end of it all, and what are they getting in the nutritional value of it. It's like
Mhm.
when you start tear apart those labels and you start to understand what's inside of it, you're just like, wait a second, this processed food is killing us.
Yeah. If you wouldn't eat it yourself, why would you want to feed it to your pets?
Yeah.
Just something, just food for thought, right? Just not for everybody, but maybe that resonates with someone.
Yeah, so is this one? Okay, so here, yeah, Jay's saying that they're getting so many questions about.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I haven't heard about it. So
It makes me it just reminds me that as a society, we are so conditioned by big pharma with the next wonder drug for this, the next wonder drug for that, the next vaccine for this. And you have to step back and go, who benefits from all of that? Like,
yeah.
why are they even having to create something like that? Um, are there more natural things that we can do to prevent the condition in the first place? It's like, we're as a society, we have been conditioned for years to take a pill for every ill because it'll just make it go away. And then people think they can just live their life and eat and drink and, whatever lifestyle they want, that they'll just go take a pill and make themselves feel better or make themselves lose weight. Or we have to really step back and think about what our motives are. Like, why don't I just want to take care of myself? Why don't I want to just eat better? Why do I want to rely on a medication? You know what I'm saying? I think we just have to rethink why we choose pharma.
Well, it's like you say that and it just triggers like this thought in my head is like, I always talk about this with people. It's like when I meet people, we talk about, spirituality or whatever it might be. And people are like, oh,
Hmm.
you seem like you live like this really magical life, Michael. What do you do? How do you do it? And early on, I always say we have a physical body and we have a spiritual body.
Yeah.
And what we want is we want those two to be in alignment. Whatever your spiritual body is, I don't care what it is, as long as, whatever it is, it's your spiritual body, but you want those two to be in alignment. And when they're in alignment, you want to be at a high vibration, because when you're at a high vibration, then your life has a tendency just to do this. And that's what my life does. It's like, I always try to stay in alignment at a high vibration. I fight for kids, I fight for pets. And, it brings joy to my life. So it's like, if you're not in alignment, what is causing that? And it's like what you're talking about right there. What is motivating you to eat this way versus this way? Stop and really take a look at it, because, when we grow up, as kids, we are brought into this world with the interpretations of not only our parents teaching us all day long, but their parents that taught them, and then their grandparents that taught their parents. And so it's just like this cycle of like the interpretation that
Mhm.
we're given in life, and how we choose to live life is usually not of our own doing. It's that of somebody else's, our family history. And this is what they were used to doing. So we
Yeah.
just automatically adopt it. So,
Hmm.
don't be afraid to look outside of the box and ask yourself. This is a great question, Pam, that you said, is like, why am I doing this? Why am I eating this way? What's in it for me?
Hmm.
Right. So I love that
Hmm.
you brought that up. I want to go back. One of the things, Jay was saying that this vaccine is coming out of Japan. And, people ask me this question all the time about our formulas. They're like, oh, Eastern Chinese medicine. Oh, where do you get your herbs? Do you get your herbs from Asia, or China? And we do not. We do not, because you know, we can't trust what's inside that
The
herb,
sourcing.
so we source everything from organic, holistic farms around Asia that, have been certified, and we won't touch. and I hate to say this, but we will not touch, things coming out of China. So it's like, when they're coming out of these different countries, you really have to do your homework and see what's in it for them and why, like you said, why is all of a sudden this coming up all of a sudden? What's this
Mhm.
new vaccine? Is it just, once again, is it a puffery? Is it a sales gimmick? Are they preparing you to sell a new product to you? Most likely. So be aware,
Yeah.
just like Pam just said, why are you eating what you eat? Let's stop and take a look at that. We've got some more questions to get through here real quick. Yeah, like no one said it's all about the money, but I do want to get to this one really quick because we asked earlier no one about her cat.
Yes. Stage 3. So no one says her cat's in stage 3 and he's been managing it well for several years. Bravo to you. I had a cat that wasn't, she had about 25% kidney function left after a couple really bad UTIs that left her hospitalized with kidney infections. And she thrived 8 years on 25% kidney function. And it was through diet and supplementation. So I tell people all the time, don't let them scare you because your cat's in, has a kidney disease or whatever. But some things that I learned, some of these were from Dr. Ruth Roberts, who is a very well-known integrative holistic vet. Um, Obviously, proper nutrition. So wet, high quality digestible protein. Don't go with the low protein foods like the vets want to tell you, because cats, if they don't eat protein, they waste away. They lose muscle mass. So if we can feed them something like gently cooked food or rehydrated freeze-dried food, or in some cases, cats still do well with kidney disease and they can eat raw food. Sometimes it's too cooling for them, and I learned that from Dr. Katie Woodley. So you have to figure out what your cat likes. So the fresher, the less processed, the better. It's more digestible for them, which is what they need. High moisture, so you can even add some bone broth, you can add water, you can add raw goat's milk to their food, add some hydration to it. And then improve just make sure their gut health is really good, because that makes such a huge difference overall. And that also puts less strain on the detoxification process that the kidneys have to do. So things like, maybe depending on what the cat's blood work looks like, if the phosphorus levels are high, add a phosphorus binder. um, there are some good products, like, can I say products, Michael?
Yeah,
Can I say products?
yeah, we were talking about this before we got on. We talk about a lot of products here, you guys. And when we talk about other products outside of our own products or what we recommend and all that, we want you to do your homework. And if it's something like Pam's introducing to you, reach out to her, take advantage of that 20 minutes and just, dive into that product with her and just really see if it's the right product for you. Because, we have found through our conversations and the people that we meet throughout the United States, throughout the world now, all these different incredible products that are out there that we're unaware of. And so we do like to share everything that we know. So just always remember, do your homework, make sure it's right for you, because what might be right for one pet may not be right for the other pet. So yeah, go ahead, Pam.
Okay. And I'm just sharing what I have learned from other vets. So some of their favorite things, like as far as a phosphorus binder, there's a product called Phosphix, Fix. And this is Dr. Karen Becker's favorite. So she likes epichitin and Phosphix for phosphorus binders. And the phosphorus binders just basically they bind to the phosphorus in the food, and it's pushed out of the body through the digestive tract. So the liver doesn't have to process all of those things, or the kidneys don't have to process that. Um, like omega-3 oils, add really good quality omega-3, whether that's a supplement or it's something like sardines and water, are really, really high in nutrition and loaded with omega-3s. Krill is another really good one that's loaded with omega-3s. There are wonderful supplements out there that love the kidneys. So, like, one of the things that I did with my cats is I used a product called Kidney Support Gold by Pet Wellbeing, and Lily was on that for 8 years. And that's a wonderful brand. They have amazing formulations and all of that. And there are other brands. I know even Feline Essential has a kidney kit. So find something that your cat will let you put in their food. That, there's so many kidney support supplements out there. I even have some in my shop if you want to explore and see what we have over there. But then there's also something called Ion, Intelligence of Nature Gut Support for Pets, and it is a product that is basically trace minerals, and it's humic acid. And one of the things that Dr. Zach Bush discovered in when he started making this soil-based product is that it protects the kidney cells just like it protects the gut lining. So now Ion Gut Support for Pets is something I absolutely recommend for every cat with kidney disease.
Wow, I love that. Do you hear that? No one. I love that. So check it out. Check out her.
Yeah.
Yeah, go to her here. Here's her site right here. Let me put it back up here real quick so you can go ahead and schedule the 20 minutes with her. No one, I would love for you to do that and just like, get some in-depth, understanding of all these different products she's talking about, because our goal here is that your cat is going to succeed and it's going to win,
Yeah. And
and
also, yeah, I was just going to say, I also have an article in my blog that you can find on kidney, best things to do for cats with kidney support. So you'll get a lot of ideas there too.
yeah, I love that. I just want to go back to Jane. So, here she's saying the kidney vaccine is still going through clinical trials. So that's good to know that they're actually doing
Mhm.
clinical trials. That's a good thing. And then here, Lori comes behind and says, no, V's are safe or effective. That's so cute, you guys. And then I want to go back to no one right now about, she's been feeding prescription kibble for kidney.
Ugh.
Yeah, I was a
Oh,
little, yeah. No one, but you were also talking about that. Is this a cat with kibble that you've had a hard time getting off of kibble? Shoot that in our comments really quick, because we are at the end of the hour here, and I just had that same question as well about when I saw kibble. I was like, we
oh.
always we always want to make sure that you're giving them the best food. What's your thought on that? You're over there grunting and groaning right now.
Oh, no, I was just looking to see if she was raised on kibble, but by the previous owner and
Right.
adopted. Okay, so she's one of the kibble holics. I call them kibble holics. Um, okay, so let's work together to get her unblocked from wet food and get this addiction to sugar out of the picture, because really I feel like it's an oxymoron. Why would a vet give a cat with kidney disease dry food? That just doesn't even, and same for bladder issues, dry food, like, really? Um but if that's all they'll eat, I understand that that's what they tend to lean towards. I'm not a fan of prescription diets, and they should not be on them for life. Prescriptions, think, and there's no medicine in them, by the way. It's just a marketing technique that they use. The ingredients in the prescription foods are poor quality sourced, um, and they're just, it's not something that your cat will thrive on. So the sooner we can get them on at least a wet food, better quality food that's high moisture, and getting, maybe some of these other supplements and things for supportive measures to support those kidneys, you can you will make so much more progress. Just for
Yeah. No,
supportive, just we've just kind of beaten it with a dead horse, like
yeah,
you
but it's sometimes we have to deliver it like this, because it's so important, that because like I didn't know all this information. You know,
yeah,
there's so many pet owners out there that don't know a touch of this information, and they're just relying on that bag or that packaging
yeah.
where it says on it, like, how many times do we hear that a veterinarian has got a partnership with Science Diet?
Oh, they all do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so what
and
are they?
Royal Canin.
Yeah. And yeah.
Yeah,
Is it the best thing for your cat or your dog? Maybe not. Maybe we need to do a little more work in investigating what is inside of it. And maybe we need to see what is better for our dog or cat.
yeah.
again, that is going to depend how their health goes from here on out. And so if you feed them really healthy food, we're hoping that that's really going to make a big impact in how long they're going to be with us.
And I have
Well,
a really good interview with Dr. Katie Woodley on my YouTube channel. We talk about prescription diets. So if you're feeding your cat a prescription diet for whatever reason, please go watch that video. It's
yeah.
really eye-opening. I promise you, you will not regret it. And I'm laughing at Jay's comment. She says, "Isn't it funny that Americans have such distaste for anything China except for the herbs?"
Well, it's so funny, Jay, because like when we did
It's true.
with our formulas, when we said it's Eastern medicine, I'm like, do we even want to say that?
Yeah.
Chinese, it's because, but it's like, it's so crazy, Yeah, I love that. It's so funny. I just went ahead. I'm going back up there really quick. Where did I see you here? Oh, here's, so no one,
Okay.
here is Pam's website. Once again, write it down really quickly. It's in the details down below. Do me a favor. I want to know next week that you made your 20-minute consultation with Pam and you had a conversation and you're working on blocking the kibble intake, energy or whatever it is with Pam, so that we can actually heal your cat going forward, or give it the best possibility for the best life. That's our goal.
Mhm.
That's our goal. You guys, we are here at the end of our time here. It flew. I love it.
It did. It
It's,
did.
we're here for you guys. That's why we're doing this. We take this time out of our days just to be here with you guys and to be able to share this information. I love bringing in people that have these different, that come from different worlds than I do. Once again, you guys know me, that have been hanging out with me for a while. I am a designer here in Los Angeles. I started, helping with pet rescues. And that's when I started to notice that there was a need out there for something different, another option for wellness. And that's when I embarked on a 15-year search to find something that would work, that would be an option for pets. And that's why we have Healthy Paws Herbal Labs today, is because, I came across Dr. Kyle and the Eastern Chinese medicine formulas that he made when I first met him. And it was just like, it's a game changer, you guys. So just like, the holistic wellness for pets, look at the food. And before we go, look at your food. What are you doing for your health? And what are you eating? And why are you eating it? Is there something that you might want to change for yourself? So with that, I want to say, Pam, thank you once again so much for being here tonight. I'll see you next week, you guys. Everybody, if you're not following myself or Pam on our channels, be sure to hit the like button, follow us, and we will see you next week. Same time, 6 p.m. Pacific time. Central time is 8 p.m.
Yeah.
And so be sure to hang out with us, you guys. We love having you guys here. We love answering you guys, your questions and all that. And before we go, I'm going to pull up one more question really quick, because I thought it was a really good question to pull up before we go. Join late. We're getting ready to rally. We're getting ready to jump off, but I was told using glass bowls when feeding and for watering to keep clean as they drink. No more with more clean bowls. What do you think about that?
Well, I think there's a propensity for certain kinds of bowls to leach plastics, like your plastic bowls leach plastics and toxins into the water. Some ceramics can, even if they're cracks or microscopic cracks, can leach whatever those residues into the water. And even stainless steel, if it is a low quality stainless steel, it can leach metals into the water. So glass is a great option for sure. And I don't know that it makes them drink more, but you can feel good knowing that it's going to be without contaminants.
Yeah, it's going to be a healthier option for them. Yeah, the
Yeah.
smoother the surface, the better, because like even like with the ceramics, like you said, it doesn't even leach; it even holds in that bacteria.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, everybody, thank you so much for being here tonight. We really appreciate you joining us, and all your questions are so important, because if you're afraid to ask, that means someone else might be afraid to ask. So please ask, because we're here to answer your questions. With that, Pam, have a beautiful night. Everybody in the room, my mods, thank you for being here. We'll see you next week, guys.
Sounds good. Thank y'all.
Bye now.